Dave, founder of Halloween Round, and today I'm talking about the Shudder original series Creepshow, a series that ran for 4 seasons and some specials, a series that never quite had a regular release schedule. We got season 1 in 2019, we got a couple specials in 2020. Obviously, things were delayed due to the pandemic. We got 2 seasons in 2021, just randomly, nothing in 22, and then a final season in 2023 that we didn't even know was a final season until like a month ago when Shudder was just like, "Oh, by the way, we're done making that." Even though the last episode aired 2 years ago, we're just letting you know now that it's just we're done. That's it. So, with it being done, and I knew this was a video I wanted to make pretty much when the show started, that I would want to go back over the whole thing and do like a retrospective of my favorite Creepshow episodes. And now that we know for a fact that the show is over, and now that I have had a chance to rewatch the entire series, specials included, I thought it would be fun to do my top 10 Shudder Creepshow episodes. Big disclaimer, I am judging the stories on their own. I know. Fight me in the comments. Come at me. It's what YouTube is for. I had to break it up because I feel like there's such a wide disparity because you could really like one of the stories in an episode and not the other one. And it's kind of hard to rank it then. So I did split them up. So this is just my top 10 stories, of which there are, I want to say, 50. I'm a huge fan of the original Creepshow movie. I even saw it recently when it was re-released in theaters as part of Regal's 31 Screams on-screen horror movies, and it was really fun even getting to see that original movie on the big screen while I was knee-deep in this rewatch of the whole series. There were things that I remember, things that some of these episodes I hadn't seen since they first aired in 2021, in 2020, some even in 2019. So without further ado, here are my top 10 Shudder Creepshow stories. Not episodes, but stories. Number 10, Survivor Type. I had very mixed feelings about the animated specials or the animated episodes. On the one hand, yes, it's really cool that they were able to do more than you would have been able to do, say, in live action just due to budget limitations, or with the 2020 specials due to, COVID protocols and filming, that it was logistically and medically safer to do an animated one and just have Kiefer Sutherland, record his voice for it. And while the Twittering Circus of the Dead, I didn't really care for very much, Survivor Type stuck with me, and it stuck with me for 2 reasons. One, just how visceral a story it is, that it feels very Stephen King, even though I don't believe it is actually a Stephen King story. And Kiefer Sutherland's voice acting. For those of you who've seen Phone Booth, you know how menacing and haunting Kiefer Sutherland's voice can be. For those of you who've seen 24, you know the same thing. But in Phone Booth, you only hear his voice, and it's very much the same here with Survivor Type. And it's fascinating and intriguing and kind of disturbing to watch his character just descend into madness as he goes hour after hour, day after day, losing more blood and slowly starving. And just how Sutherland's voice gets more unhinged as it goes on, as he constantly repeats, "How badly does the patient want to survive?" That was my bad Kiefer Sutherland impression. Did you like it? So this is one that, despite me not being the biggest fan of the animated episodes, just because I prefer to see like what they can do with the makeup effects in live action, this one really stuck with me. And even though I hadn't watched it since it first aired way back in 2020, this is one that I kind of remembered everything about it. There were other episodes that I'm like, oh yeah, this one exists. I forgot about it. This one has stuck with me ever since then, and it still sticks with me now as just this haunting look in, no matter how strong your survival instinct may be, without the proper resources, this haunting story is the final result. Number 9, Pesticide. I'm tempted just to say, well, Keith David, this is why this is on the top 10, but it's more than that. It's more than that. Creepshow always works best, I think, when one, it is a self-contained story. Some of these stories and episodes feel like they're like the third act to a whole movie, but we're not seeing the whole movie. We're just seeing the third act as the story. And some of those ones are not on this list for that reason. This one acts as its own self-contained story with like a beginning, a middle, and an end. But also, Creepshow always had, not that it was like a morality tale, but that they always felt like fables and always felt like they had some sort of, not moral to the story, but some sort of they were cautionary tales that dealt with, things like morality, things like ethics, things, real life issues, which some of these do. And this one, like, just the way that, you have a guy who specializes in killing bugs, killing vermin, and then you see how unscrupulous people can apply those definitions and give that same treatment to human beings, and what the ultimate repercussions of that are, and how, like, the exterminator himself is just as expendable to Keith David as the vagrants he's trying to get moved off his property. This is just classic creep show. And I think there's plenty of episodes and stories in the series that were classic creep show. This one resonated more with me. Number one, just the design of the bugs. And number two, just Keith David. He knows exactly how to walk that line between hamming it up and being genuinely menacing and creepy. And he's always at that perfect balance. And that's very, very much on display here. Plus, you get Ashley Lawrence, Christy from Hellraiser, as a therapist. And, she's probably my favorite final girl, seriously underrated. And it's just fun to see her in something. Number 8, Parent Death Trap. Anyone who's ever had overbearing parents is going to relate to this one very, very much. Not that my own parents were very overbearing, in case they're watching this. What? This isn't about you guys at all. This is not. But just the idea of, like, arrested development and failure to launch because your parents and their baggage is following you around after you've literally murdered them. It's just kind of hilarious to me. This one, I wouldn't even call this one horror. It's really more of like a comedy sketch, but it captures that concept really well of just what it's like to have the overbearing parents, and how they can emotionally stunt you and make you feel like you're the one going crazy, and how it just commits fully to the dark joke, and it keeps raising the stakes, which, if you've seen it, I'm talking about, where he meets up with the girl, and then you find out her story, and then it goes from there to there to there to there, all of it culminating in a hilarious punchline of the police are taking him away, and he's like, no, 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 I only killed these people, not these. This one's probably the funniest one, and the one that I related to the most in terms of my sense of humor. Number 7, The Man in the Suitcase. This one kind of feels like the ultimate cautionary tale. It's very simple, but it's very effective in just, what would you do? And it kind of forces the audience to ask that question. You hurt this guy in the suitcase, you get money. How far would you take it? How much would be enough? And I think it almost dares the audience to confront themselves in the mirror and ask, what would I do with the man in the suitcase? And then, of course, its ending finishes the cautionary tale that, it's the whole you reap what you sow. It's a classic story. It's borrowed from the lore of the Jinn, and I love it. I also, I love the practical design of, like, when he turns into the Jinn monster at the end. Uh, this was a show that always had a lower budget, but always, I mean, sometimes it relied on bad CGI, which I actually got into it with one of the writers from the show, which I'll get to later. But when they use practical effects, I always loved it, and I think this one blended those practical effects with what might be the best cautionary tale story of the entire series. Number 6, The Hat. As a fellow writer, I published 2 books for those of you who don't know. I related to this I related to Parent Death Trap in terms of my sense of humor. I relate to another one I'm gonna talk about later in terms of, like, you know, my fears and anxieties. I related to this one in terms of my obsession and passion. I run this YouTube channel, and there are times that I do things I probably shouldn't do. I sacrifice sleep. I'll get up super early in the morning. I'll stay up super late at night editing a video, working on something, watching a movie for a ranking list, whatever, in addition to working full time and, having a wife and 2 kids. And all of it kind of comes at that expense. And I'm like, no, I just need to get this one out. I just need to finish this. I just need to finish this. So the concept, the idea of this guy, this writer having this hat that just puts him into hyperdrive and just turns it up to 11 with, putting out the output of his creative work. I get that. And I relate to it because I could kind of see myself doing this. I could see myself getting tempted by it. And I can't ignore the fact that it offers a kind of hilarious supernatural explanation to how Stephen King's been writing so much for all those years. I can't help but wonder what George R. R. Martin would do if he could get his hands on that hat. Is that why Martin wears the hat? Because he's hoping that it will help him finish The Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring or whatever the next one's supposed to be, while he's still with us. So, as a creative, I related to this, and again, I thought Creepshow is at its best when it's a cautionary tale, and this kind of demonstrates how far you can go for your passion, for your obsession, at your own expense, and how there's been times more so within the last year or so that I've had to say, you know what, yeah, do I really want to go to this movie screening at like 10 o'clock at night? I got work in the morning and I'm already exhausted. Yeah, I'll be able to watch it and review it, but I can barely keep my eyes open, and it's at a theater an hour away, and I have to. Old me would have done it. Newer me, who's trying to be more cautious, trying to take better care of myself, sees this episode as that cautionary tale. Don't become him. Don't become this guy. Don't go down this rabbit hole. Don't sacrifice your mental and physical health for the sake of your passion and obsession. Number 5, All Hallows Eve. I love how this one, number 1, is just oozing in Halloween imagery. I love Halloween. It is my favorite day of the year. And I love any movie or show that just gets me in the Halloween mood. And this one, just in its setting, does that. But I kind of love how this one almost feels like an episode of like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Not just because it's about kids, but just it has this. It's somber. It's sad, and it kind of reminds you. It lures you in with the creep factor of like imagine being stalked by ghosts every year on Halloween, and each year they come back for one more person who was involved, with their unjust murder. Well, accidental death. Well, I'm no lawyer, but I think they would at least be charged with involuntary manslaughter. They didn't mean to kill them, but they put them in a scenario that they could die because of their own actions. Anyways, it lures you in with that scary kind of vibe and motif, but then reminds you of the inherent tragedy behind every ghost story. That the ghosts, like, in order for them to become the ghost, that they are something terrible happened to them, and just that their whole life was gone. And I feel like this one, the first half was creepy and scary, and the second half was somber and just very thoughtful and poignant. And I really like that it did both of those together, and I really like that it did it all with a Halloween setting and getting me in the mood for Halloween. I remember every year Shudder does the Halloween hotline where I call my man Sam Zimmerman, the curator of Shudder. I'm looking forward to speaking to him again this year. assuming they do it again. And I remember one year I said, I want something Halloween ish, something to like get you in the Halloween mood. And he goes, dude, All Hallows Eve, Creepshow episode. Watch that. And that was what he recommended for me when I said that. Number 4, The Right Snuff. There weren't too many Creepshow episodes that went full sci-fi. So, one, it was just really cool to get that subgenre representation in the show. We're going to space. It has, elements of 2001, elements of, say, Interstellar, even some elements of Event Horizon. But what I liked most about it, and spoilers for if you're watching this, I assume you've seen the series and have seen most of these or all of them. It's the cautionary tale in the form of the twist at the end, where it's like, oh, you killed the other guy because you were jealous of his accomplishments. He was our extraterrestrial representative, and you've doomed your entire planet. It is rare for a movie or a show to basically end with "we're ending the world." Now, if you do it too much, like if you're Marvel and every movie has a potentially world or universe ending threat, it does kind of lose its appeal. But when you're not doing it that much, when you're not dropping that threat, and then in this Creepshow series, you randomly have an episode end with, well, because of the actions of one jealous, small minded, insecure little man, aliens are going to wipe out the entire human race. It hits kind of hard. And it's like, damn, like the kind of feels like an overreaction, but again, fits right in with that cautionary tale, vibe of, well, you did this bad thing and now you've doomed your whole planet. Number 3, Time Out. So this is the last one on this list. I know that I've spoken about how, I related to Parent Death Trap and I related to The Hat. Time Out is the one I related to. It's higher on this list because it hit me in the feels. I am a parent, I have 2 children, and just the idea of this guy, this husband, this father, sacrificing time, like going into this, cupboard, dresser of his, whatever you want to call it, closet, where time moves differently, where, oh, I can get all this work done, and then no time at all is passed out there, but he still ages, kind of freaks me out because I have literally said to my wife, wouldn't it just be great if you could just freeze time and like clean the whole house? Take as long as you need, but then only like an hour went by in the outside world. Or wouldn't it be great to just freeze time and sleep for 8 hours and then go about and do something else? Something like I've literally said that and literally have wished for something like this. And then the shoe, and then the other shoe drops, and it's like, oh, but time can't be stolen. All time must be paid, and you realize like how much you're missing out. And it hit me. It hit really close to home because I thought, even just not just my creative projects, but like every day that I'm at work, every day that I'm not home with my kids, that's time I'm losing. I'm getting older. They're getting older. This episode, this story kind of gave me an existential crisis. And I've been thinking about it ever since. And this is one that I vividly remembered. And then rewatching it just kind of brought all that back. And it may take me a few months to recover from it. Number 2, The House of the Head. So the final 2, this one and then number 1, are not ones that I necessarily. A lot of these other ones are on here because I related to them, because they kind of spoke to me, because like it meant something special to me. These top 2, I just think are the most entertaining, best ideas, best executed top 2 out there. So like with this one, probably the genuine scariest episode story of the entire series. And it works because of how much it doesn't show. All we see are like the little girl has a little head in her dollhouse, and we see the intervals of like, here's what the family's doing now. Here's the havoc being wreaked. But I love that you don't see the in between, and I love that you never see any of them move. I think that you look at something like Annabelle. Annabelle was so creepy in the first Conjuring movie because you never saw her move, but you knew she was when no one was looking. And it's like your imagination fills in the gap. So we never see this creepy severed head do anything. We only ever see it just standing there stationary. Even the other figurines in the house, we only ever see standing there stationary. But what's so disturbing is what our mind fills in for the rest of the time as to like what was happening. And then when like it escapes and gets into her room, yeah, she gets it back and she gets it back in there and tries to give it away, which is disturbing on a whole other level that basically she's dooming another family to, the fate that she was going to, have befall upon her and her family. But the second you see that head at human size in her room, you're terrified for them, even though you've never actually seen it do anything, but you know what it's capable of, and your mind is just filling it in. It's such a simple yet effective approach, and it's the one that scares me and disturbs me the most. And it easily could have been number one if number one didn't entertain me the most. And that's kind of how I ranked it. Number two creeped me out the most. Number one, it's just the most fun. And finally, number one, the finger. Remember, I said I kind of got into it with one of the writers of the show? When this episode first dropped in 2019, I did a written review on the Halloween Year Round blog where I praised it. I said this episode was great. Of course, I think it's great. It's number one on my list. It's always been my favorite episode ever since that first season. It was my favorite of that season, and I've yet to see an episode cross it in terms of being my favorite. But I wrote in the review that some of the CGI looked a little fake. And the screenwriter, David F. Chow, replied to it and said, like, sorry to burst your bubble, but that was stop motion we used. That was not CGI. The director of the episode, Greg Nicotero himself, showrunner of the show, did not want to use CGI. He said we got to use stop motion. Which, knowing that, I'm like, oh, it's stop motion. Okay, that makes it. As stop motion, it looks better for that, and like I understand. I had to eat my words. I did, and I don't know that he saw my response after that. I've always felt weird about that, and I'm sorry that I was so quick to criticize it. Forgive 2019 me. But what makes this episode so entertaining? One, it's DJ Qualls. It's his unhinged performance as this guy that is clearly insane from the beginning. So by the time you get to the end, that you're like, I kind of think it was just him doing it. You buy and you realize, yeah, this was probably him all along. But it's the little like it's him shouting at the telemarketer. It's it's the creature Bob going to the call center and killing the person that was on the phone with him. Like it's those little it's him shouting at the police and slamming the door shut. It almost feels like a modern adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, but with the insanity dialed up to 11. And while I think House of the Head, again, scared me the most, The Finger is just my favorite, most entertaining, most fun episode of Creepshow. Someone says to me, hey, let's watch the show Creepshow. Which one do you recommend? I'm like, this one. This one is the best of everything. It has the camp. It's a self-contained story. We can debate whether or not it's a cautionary tale, but it represents the best of what is Creepshow, what is this show, and all these years later, no episode has ever topped it, in my humble opinion. But hey, these are just my thoughts. These are just my ramblings. This is just my channel. If you don't like it, get your own. I'm kidding. Watch mine. Let me know in the comments, what are your favorite episodes or stories of Creepshow? I would love to hear yours. These are just my 10 favorite, but they are by no means the definitive 10 best. I want to hear what your top 10 are. I want to hear what your favorites are. I want to hear which one of mine you didn't like and for what reason. Let's talk, let's discuss, let's argue, let's debate. It's what YouTube comments are for. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up stuck in one of these 10 Creepshow episodes I talked about, some of which are considerably worse than others. And as always, every day is Halloween.